Hi everyone, Prince Simon here. It's going to be a short live session today, but I thought I'd take a few questions. I've got a bit of a sore throat, so before the cough sweet wears off, I'll take your questions and hopefully give you some relevant answers if there's anything urgent. As ever, if you have any questions that you want answered, probably the best way to get the answers is to go to my blog at britsimonsays.com and ask the question there, and I'll always answer those questions. Even when I'm feeling down, I normally sit on my couch and answer the questions there. So so let's see who's around. Janica, first in. Hi. Queen S, hi to you, and Brian, hi to you. So, has anyone got some questions? Let's see. Joe, you just received your card after a month, so that's quick. Actually, Joe, 4 or 5 weeks is pretty rare to hear. People often ask about this. The green card can take up to 3 or 4 months to arrive. So it sometimes does come faster, 1 to 2 months. That's good. It actually isn't that important. The most important thing is the social security number, funny enough. And that typically arrives in 2 to 3 weeks, and it comes from a different agency. So hopefully you've got both those things now, Joe. So good luck. You're all set to begin. Let's see. On the J official says, on the picture size, is it important for it to be up to the chest, or it isn't that important? Up to the chest. No, so the standard photo format, if I move myself here, the standard format would be kind of like shoulders and your head, right? It wouldn't include very much of your chest. I mean, it depends how small you are, I suppose. But it's basically head and shoulders shot is what you're looking for. The composition is shown on the government's own websites. So use the government photo tool to make sure your composition is right. Okay. Joe says very cold here, unlike Africa. Yeah. I often wonder how our African brothers and sisters cope with the weather in some of the places that you choose to go and move to. I'm even cold at the moment in California, so I can't imagine if you come from a very warm country and you come to the colder parts of America, like, what are you thinking? Don't go there. Antonio says, if I made mistakes when filling out the application, when the results coming out in May, will I be told where I went wrong? No. You are simply told in May you're either selected or not selected. That's it. It doesn't, and in fact, they don't not select you because you made mistakes. What makes you not selected sometimes is, well, firstly, just pure luck. They only select a very small number of the entries. But people that then get disqualified is generally, firstly, because of photos, secondly, because of multiple attempts, fraud, that sort of thing. It's not like you make a mistake on your entry. There's no real mistakes as long as you're telling the truth. Now, if you say that you're single when actually you're married, that sort of thing, or you leave off a derivative, that will still mean that you can get selected, but you'll get disqualified later on. So that's none of those mistakes, as you're calling them, will stop the selection. Okay. Okay, Djibouti, 33,000. What do you think is affidavit of support needed? I-134. I don't know whether Djibouti commonly ask for that, but if you can get an I-134, why wouldn't you? It's just a sensible precaution to take, a sensible extra step to take. Is national diploma valid in terms of education? I don't know, because there are 200 countries around the world, and I can't read your mind, Queen, to see which country you come from and which education system you went through. And I can't read the mind or go to some book or website where it says what the consular officers will take at every location. What I can tell you is, generically, the level of education that you need to qualify for the DV lottery is the education level that would allow you to enter a university degree course, a bachelor's degree course. Okay, so in the UK, where I was brought up, for example, people left high school at 16 years old when I was going through school, and then they went to college, what was called college, for a further 2 years. So at high school, you could leave the education system with O levels, but the level of education needed to go on to university was A levels, and A levels it could only come from that extra 2 years in college. So typically, kids that reach the right level are about 18 years old. They've been through about 12 years of education, although that can vary. That the number of years is not important. It's the level of education they get to. But the point is, the important point is that you can go from that education with no further testing, no further education or anything else, and go straight into a recognized degree program in order to earn a bachelor's degree, a 3 or a 4 year degree program, depending on the country's education system. Okay, so there you go. And it's I applied on the first day, and I see your video on TikTok saying it's not important whether you enter on the first day or the last. No, it's not important. The selection is entirely random. It doesn't matter which day you enter on. First day, last day, middle of the week, middle of the night. It makes no difference, right? None of that makes any difference. It's just a random selection. What do you think about the advancement of DV25? I'm 41K. DV25 Algeria, when should I become current? We got some official numbers just recently. Perhaps I can show you something. Because a lot of people have been concerned that that we weren't getting many, it appeared that we were not getting very many interviews for DV 2025, right? And so let me just, let me come over here. I'll show you this. I'll show you this website. If I can figure out which one. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I'll just show you this. So you've got something to see. So we're going to go to Zarthisius's fabulous website and have a look at the data there. I'll put me over here. Okay, and I turn the menu off, that'll be slightly bigger. Okay, so the monthly issuances for the month of October have just been released. Now, this is official data. At the moment, we don't have SEAC data. We can't extract the SEAC data. For DV25 cases, that will only start to be available on January the 1st, okay? But what we do have is a slightly early view by seeing the number of cases or visas issued in this data here in October. October being the first month of DV 2025, right? So we can see that some countries have got off to a really good start. So you were mentioning about Algeria, Youssef. Algeria, the second busiest in number of issuances, with 223 issuances there in the month of October. So that's a really good start. Egypt have got off to a really good start. That's interesting, encouraging. And the other one that I find really interesting and encouraging is, where is it? Oh, of course, Ethiopia, Addis. I'm looking for Addis. But Addis issued 114 in October. So that's telling me a few things just about the African region for a moment. With Egypt and Algeria and Morocco is probably in there. Yeah, Morocco's in there with 61. That's not great for Morocco, but they'll get faster, I'm sure. But with those powerhouse embassies starting off very, very well, that's looking good for Africa in terms of issuances, right? Now, you may notice that Kenya is not in this list. Nairobi has started slow. Slower than I expected, I have to say. And they may be going a little bit slower in general this year. I don't know. I suspect that they will speed up, frankly, but that remains to be seen. But the point being that there are already a good number of issuances in Africa. there's 831 people were issued visas in Africa in October. So that's actually pretty good. If we compare that to previous years, that's actually better than some years. EU got a good start as well, and Asia. So we don't need to fret too much about DV 2025. For people who are concerned about Nairobi, they just need to be patient. We'll have some data in a few days' time, in 10 days' time, we'll have some data. And we'll be able to figure out exactly what is going on with all of the countries. But there's a pretty good start there in some of the countries. And I'm particularly pleased to see Addis doing so well. That's going to make a big difference. Now, I have to say that when quiet embassies, previously powerful embassies that have been quiet for a couple of years, then come back to life, as we're seeing with Egypt there and with Addis. If other embassies that have been good, like Nairobi as well, are also performing well, then that high performance of embassies with the high number of selectees that we've got is kind of bad news for high case numbers, right? Because if they're issuing well in the lower case numbers, then we're not going to get to the highest case numbers. Now, a lot of that depends on what Trump does. If Trump puts in place some ban that affects people in various countries, in some regions, then that will help higher case numbers in those regions. So we have to wait and see. We can't possibly know what's going to happen in the future. We just have to be a little bit aware of what's going on. Showing it, studies a little bit. Come over and you can change the threshold to include more countries and see which other countries are in there. Like Cambodia issued 11, Bhutan issued 12, Belarus issued 14, and so on. Right? So you can come and have a look at this data and get all the data you like. It's a really useful resource, and very grateful to Zarthisius providing all this fantastic information. It's here under monthly DV issuances. Okay. Okay. Let's go back here. Okay, I'm from Norway. This would be my second attempt at the DV lottery. How is Norwegian Embassy behaving? I think it's all being done centralized in one of the embassies now. I wouldn't worry about the embassy. That's not the point. You need to get selected first. I don't know if you're saying you are selected when you say it's your second attempt. Do you mean you've entered but you're waiting to find out? Okay, wait to find out whether you're selected or not. Okay. Hello, Mr. Simon. When we receive the SEAC data 2025 come January, please check Nairobi Embassy and give us advice on the way forward. Yeah, I will do. I will say that I wouldn't bet against Nairobi, if you understand that term. Let's say you're going to the horse races, right? And you see some of the horses go out front, and you start betting against what appears to be a slow horse at the back, but you know that horse is an absolute powerhouse. I wouldn't bet against that horse at the back. I would wait for Nairobi, frankly, unless there's very clear indication and some reason that they're not going to perform. I would not bet against them. Hi, Brett. Thanks for your help during the 2024 fiscal year. Greencard is approved after 3 months. Good. Well done, Mohammed. Okay. If I make mistakes when filling out the application, you've already asked that. I've already answered it. Why is Cameroon still rotating at just case 10K and rotating? And what is their performance in the past? Okay, we don't have the data. So other than the data I've just shown you, we don't have data to figure out, exactly what each individual embassy is doing. We have to wait. In 10 days' time, we're going to have a lot of data, and we'll be discussing that data constantly. You'll get sick of it, and you'll know a lot more about the way the whole process works. It's very enlightening when we see the data. So much so that you will, as I say, you'll probably get tired of it. Ghana and I have changed my interview to Abidjan. Well, please. It's an odd embassy to change to, I have to say. But I assume you're there. Please, when should I expect my 2NL? Don't know. And how do you consider the Abidjan embassy? Yeah. Yeah, it was an odd choice of embassies. I'm not quite sure. You must have had a reason for that, I guess. In which case, the reason is more important than my perspective. I made a mistake with my country code number. Will it affect my chances from Ghana? No, they don't care about your country code. Which states are warmer? The southern states are generally warmer, but they're moronic states in the south, and so you have to go south, but to the coasts. If you want intelligence and smart, you go to the east coast, and funnily enough, you don't go south. Generally speaking, okay, there's a thing called the sunshine effect. So, generally speaking, warmer states tend to be less well-educated states. Florida would be a great example of that, right? Bunch of morons. But great weather. So if you want great weather, awesome. Go to Florida. It's really good. It's a cheap state to live in. There's no state tax, but they have a moron in charge of the state, and they're waving, Trump flags around like lunatics. So, not the smartest people. Funnily enough, when you go north on the East Coast, particularly, you'll find that there's more intelligent folk, brighter folk and that sort of thing, because if the weather is great, people tend to go outside and go to the beach, etc. If the weather's not so great, they tend to stay home and read a book. And so the education level, tends to be higher, and that's a very sweeping generalization, but that's actually what seems to happen. The education level and the intelligence level in the northeast corner of the states is actually pretty high. All those states are pretty sharp. And the sunshine effect tends to make the lower, the sort of sunnier states, just kind of a little bit dopier. California and all of the western coast have good weather, while not such great weather in the north of in the northern states like Washington and Oregon. It's nice, but it's not great. But the West Coast is politically good. Educationally good. Some of the best universities are in those states, and again, very, very strong universities in the Northeast. But the education levels on the West Coast are high. Economic opportunity in the West Coast is very high. California is a massive economy. You can measure California's economy in the world by itself, without the rest of the USA. By itself, it's the fifth economy in the world. California is an incredibly rich, powerful, smart, move-ahead state. It also happens to be protective, politically, which is a good thing at the moment with what we're about to go through. So, if you want to be in a nice area, which is good for education, good, and everything else, unfortunately, you pay for that, and that means it's going to be expensive to live in places like California, but you get higher wages. So it's kind of worth it, in my opinion. Well, it's very worth it. Just you pay your money, you take your choice, Joe. Okay. AF61K, when should I expect to be interviewed? Well, it'll be some months yet. We're only still in the early 20s, right? So it's going to be some months, and I'm not going to make predictions. At the moment, there's no data to even make a prediction. You have to wait and see. Thanks for checking in, sir. Been long since you updated. It's been a week, yeah. I'm in Kenya, Nairobi Embassy, 25 winner. When will I receive my 2NL? I emailed KCC and they replied that your case is current. So when they say that you are current for interview processing, that means your DS-260 is processed and your number is current. So now you're just in a queue, and we'll have to see when Nairobi start actually taking cases. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to do another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a day. When they say vocational training can go, but next they say you have an advanced level, what does that mean? Okay, so it's a confusing question, so I'll try and sort of make an answer from what I think you're asking. They rule out vocational education as a qualifying education towards this program. What that means is if you've studied in general academic education to the point where you've got into university, that education can be counted. But if you switched, let's say at 16 years old, and you went into some vocational education like plumber, carpenter, anything like that, that's for a vocation, for a job, right? If you went in that direction, that vocational education can't be counted towards your to meet the requirement for education, right? And then the advanced level, well, that's an A level, right? In the education standard I was referring to earlier, which is the British standard, where there's O levels and A levels, and it's sometimes used in some of the other countries. A levels would be the level that is necessary to enter a university, right? So that's what that means, I think. But your question is a little bit unclear, so I'm not, maybe I'm missing the point of your question. I'm currently in Uganda. Is it easy to get a green card from here? Well, if you win the DV lottery, it's not easy necessarily, but it is possible to get the green card from Uganda, and people do every year. But entering the lottery is not a plan, right? People are selected about one time in every 100 years, right? If you were entering for 100 straight years, your average chance of being selected is once out of that 100 years. It's 1% selection chance, roughly speaking. It goes up or down in each year. So, and you're only allowed to enter one time per year. So, it's not a plan. But if you are lucky enough to be selected, then it's a relatively easy way to get a green card. It takes a while, takes a year and a half sometimes, but it's a good way to get a green card. AF2K Accra Embassy, I've current long ago, but still no 2NL. Please, what can I do about this? What are my chances of getting an appointment date? With AF2K, you just have to wait and be calm, right? You will get an appointment, even at Accra. You just have to wait and be, just relax, right? You can't do anything about it. You're locked in the queue now. You just have to wait. But your number is so low that you're going to get an interview. Okay. Are heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration professions in demand in the American job market? Yes, absolutely. Many of the states have both those needs, heating and refrigeration and air conditioning, right? Or all three of those needs. I mean, everyone needs refrigeration. Massive areas of the country need air conditioning, like California. It's very normal to have air conditioning. Florida, all of Texas, very normal to have air conditioning in all of those southern states, right? Heating is very important in the northern states where it gets cold. So yeah, absolutely, good profession to be in, good industry to be in. Queen S, you're from London, UK. Okay, and that helps a little bit. I'm not sure if you were educated there, Queen S. So actually, let me just go back. Queen S, are you English? Are you British? Were you born and bred in the UK? And have you been selected? Because there is some rumors that nobody from the UK was selected. And I'd like to hear from people with EU case numbers that are UK entrants, right? Chargeable to UK. Normally, people in the UK don't take the name Queen for obvious reasons. So I suspect that you're a transplant to the UK, but let me know. How long will it take to receive my green card after US CIS application says card is being produced? Can take a week or two. It is usually quite quick after that point. So you went through adjustment to status. That's normally quite quick. It's only a week or two for those cases. I think mine was about a week or so. Queen S says it was a vocational course at sixth form until 8/19. So that won't be usable towards your education. So, and sixth form college, by the way, in the UK, is what I was talking about, where you would normally do A levels. But if you've done some vocational course at sixth form, that's not useful towards the DV lottery. Hello, Simon. I'm AF50K, but doing my interview in Doha Embassy. So my embassy, how's the performance there? Will I have a chance to do my interview? Yeah, you'll have to wait and see. It's not a bad number. AF50K is not a bad number this year. But we have to wait and see how the general progress goes, and we'll have more information in a couple of weeks' time. Okay. Sammy says, I'm worried about my case. I was put on AP to submit a document, but nothing has been updated on my CX status. And I've been unable to check my status because it says invalid CN. Okay, so you can't track your status in SEAC for DV25 cases, right? I think what's happening here is you're just being impatient, to be honest. When you miss a document at the interview and you submit it after the interview, sometimes they make a fairly quick decision within a week or so after the interview, but sometimes it can cause a longer delay than that. You just have to be patient, right? There's nothing you can do about it. There could be other reasons that you're on 221G as well. It may not just be the document, but you're not going to be able to get information from SEAC. Even when we have the SEAC data, it's not going to give you any status information that's useful. It will just show you what you already know, that you're waiting. Okay, so just wait. Okay, you can, by the way, email the embassy and ask them how things are going, but don't do that every week or anything. It will annoy them, right? So just be patient a little bit. Okay. Okay, Abdullah says, I made a mistake on my DS260 concerning my education. The year on my result is different from DS260. Can that affect me? Generally, no. As long as they believe that you have made a genuine mistake and you're not trying to commit any fraud, it's normally not a problem. When do you think case number AF4000 range will receive the 2NL? KCC says case is current for interview processing. So you're in stage 4. It really just depends now on your embassy and the capacity they have. With such a low case number, I suspect you're probably Ghana, because there's a couple of other embassies maybe that are that low, but yeah, you just have to wait. Okay. In your name it says you're Chief Bawa. Are you really a chief? That's interesting. I applied for DV26, but I'm in the process of moving to Europe for work. In case I get selected, can I do the process there without my family? If yes, do I need their documents? Yeah, you the way you're using there is wrong twice, but anyway. Can I process there? Sorry, that's bugging me now. Yes, you can process your case wherever you happen to live. When you get selected, that's not a problem. In fact, some people even transfer to other embassies. You will need your family to interview if you're planning on taking your family to the States. They will normally interview with you. But all of this you'll find out later if you get selected. And your chance of getting selected is pretty low. So don't worry about it right now. Wait and see if you're selected, okay? Yeah. Can a pregnancy without a spouse be a problem during the interview? No, they don't care. Do you know how things are regulated if a child is born before leaving your country? Will they let you give birth in the US? Yes, they will. People worry about these things too much. It's like some of you haven't quite got the email or got the message. America is a very liberal country, and with laws that guarantee your freedom. So you don't need things like papers to travel within the USA. People often ask me, if I go to this state, can I travel to that other state? Of course you can. Nobody's going to stop you. There's no police saying you can't enter California from Nevada or anything else like that. Nothing of the sort. Can you have a baby in America? Of course you can. Nobody cares. Nobody is going to stop you doing that. That's not against the law. Humans have babies, and so it's not a problem. All you've got to understand is that having a baby in the USA means you've got to have medical insurance or pay the bills. And if you pay the bills, it'll cost $25,000 to have a baby in the USA. So I would suggest if you do come here, make sure you have medical insurance, because otherwise it's going to cost you a lot of money to have a baby here, right? And what you mustn't do here, they're much more concerned about people not paying bills than they are about people having babies out of wedlock and that sort of thing. So don't come here, have a baby without paying the bills, and expect everything to go well for you, because that's not how it will work. You've got to pay your bills here, okay? And if you don't like, by the way, if you don't like the cost of healthcare here, I totally understand. But America is a place where there's opportunity, etc. It's just that it's backward in some ways. It's backward in its healthcare. It's very stupid in its healthcare. The gun laws are stupid, and the education, frankly, is not that great compared to other countries. If you want better healthcare, you don't want to be dealing with gun violence and that sort of thing, and you want a better education system, then frankly Europe is better. Europe is better in a lot of ways. So for a lot of people that are trying to get to America, maybe they would be happier in Europe. but everyone can make their choice, and decide where they want to be. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple more questions before I ruin my throat here. Okay. Eric says, I've finally been able to join your live feed. I applied B2 visa in 2019, made a mistake about high school name. Other info is correct. Will it affect my visa chances? Not at all, Eric. Nothing of the sort. Case number is AF18K from Ghana, but I selected Cote d'Ivoire for my interview. Do you think I have a chance in Abidjan? Maybe. Fingers crossed. I understand why you would want to move there. That's a good, a good idea to get out of Accra. I just don't know about Abidjan, right? So we'll have to see. Sorry, it's a request to make more videos as you made for insurance. It would be very helpful to new DV winners coming to the USA. Thank you. Yeah, I have an article on BritSimonSays.com as well, also, that talks about health insurance for new immigrants. It's very important you take that seriously. I was contacted recently by someone who had arrived, I think, on the Thursday. They emailed me on, I think, on the Saturday night. They'd only been in the country 2 days. They didn't have health insurance, and their little kid was sick, and so they had to do something. They went to an A&E. I hope they got it sorted out. They were in a pretty good state, I have to say. State, US, one of the 50 states in the USA, which is blue run, Democrat run, so they would have had a better time of it. But still, running up medical bills here is not a great idea. It's not a great start to your life in America, is having all these big bills over your head. It's not a good idea. Better to have the insurance. Okay. All right. Hello, Simon. My case number is AF 4000. My interview was December 12th. Good. I now have my visa. Excellent. Which was issued 1 week after the interview. I plan to travel in March next year. Will it be late for me? Okay. So I'm going to take, this will be the last question to save my throat. I just want to make a point about this, and I'll talk at detail on this point. So you've just got your visa. There's a part of me that would say, well, there are people that I know and respect that would say at this point, get your ass to America, right now, before January the 20th, because Trump will become the president of the USA on January the 20th, right? And we know that he is going to take an anti-immigrant stance. Now, we don't know exactly what he's going to do, but in the past, he has implemented travel bans, some based on, based against Muslim majority countries. Then that was dressed up as being a security ban. And then later he had COVID bans, right? So he's done all of those things. He's not at all worried about banning people and closing borders and that sort of thing. And I think there will be a very strong attempt to close the southern border the day he comes in the office, right? As to whether he'll implement a travel ban or not, I don't know. There are things that he can do that can make life more difficult for people going through the process. Not so much for people like in your position where you've already got the visa, but a travel ban. If you're from a Muslim majority country, for example, then I would say, yeah, get yourself to America before January the 20th. Right? That's basically how I would sort of boil that down. If you're from, a country that doesn't have a lot of terrorism, Muslim majority, and that sort of thing, then you're less likely to be on the radar of the Trump administration as a country. So, not such a concern. But it is possible to block entry even though someone has a visa. Okay, so the president has that power. So if you don't want to be troubled by that power looming over your head, then come before January the 20th. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to call that a day. I know it's a short session, but and I know there are questions waiting for me. But please ask your questions at britsimonsays.com, and I'm going to stop talking and save what I can of my throat. And then hopefully next week I'll be back online. This week is Christmas, so if you celebrate that, happy Christmas to you, and any other holidays that you have. That's awesome. But I'll see you next weekend between Christmas and the New Year. All right, everybody, have a great day. Bye-bye.